Sarah's fingers tightened around the arms of her wheelchair as the cafe door chimed for the third time in 5 minutes. Each jingle felt like another nail in the coffin of her hope. 23 minutes past 7. Marcus had texted, "Running late, babe," at 6:48. Then nothing. She stared at the untouched cappuccino cooling in front of her. The foam heart the barista had drawn now collapsed into a sad, lopsided blob. She hated the pitying glances from the couple at the next table. She hated the way the barista kept refilling her water glass without being asked, as if keeping her hydrated might somehow soften the humiliation. Most of all, she hated the small, treacherous voice in her head whispering that this was exactly what she deserved for believing someone could look past the chair. Sarah had spent 3 years rebuilding herself after the accident that stole her legs on a rain-slicked interstate. 3 years of physical therapy, of learning to navigate a world built for standing people, of smiling through the "you're so brave" comments that always sounded like condolences. She had finally felt brave enough to try dating again. Marcus had seemed different, funny, attentive, never once asking the dreaded, "So what happened?" On their video calls, he'd chosen this cafe because it was fully accessible. He'd promised. Now the promise sat cold beside her abandoned heart foam. She wheeled toward the door, chin high, refusing to let the tears fall until she was safely in her van. The ramp was just outside. 10 more feet. She could do this. "Excuse me," a small voice piped up. "Are you leaving already?" Sarah looked down. A girl no older than 6 stood clutching a worn stuffed giraffe, her dark curls escaping a lopsided ponytail. Behind her stood a man in a navy peacoat, one hand resting protectively on the child's shoulder. He looked exhausted, tie loosened, sleeves rolled up, the kind of handsome that sneaks up on you because it's too tired to try. "I'm sorry," he said quickly. "Lily's not usually this forward. Well, she noticed you looked sad." Lily tugged his coat. "Daddy, her coffee's lonely." "Nobody should drink lonely coffee." Sarah almost laughed despite herself. "It's okay. My friend couldn't make it. Happens." The man's eyes flicked to the empty chair opposite her, then to the cooling cappuccino. Something shifted in his expression, recognition, maybe. Or memory. "Mind if we sit?" he asked. "Only if you want company. No pressure." Sarah hesitated. The polite thing was to say no, spare them the awkwardness of entertaining the woman in the wheelchair. But Lily was already climbing onto the empty chair, giraffe and all, swinging her legs with the fearless energy only children possess. "I'm Lily," she announced. "This is Mr. Raff. He's my best friend but he can't talk much because he lost his voice in the wash." She held up the giraffe solemnly. "Daddy says we should be nice to people who look like they need a friend." "Do you need a friend?" The question punched the air from Sarah's lungs. She managed a nod. The man extended a hand. Ethan Grant. His grip was warm, calloused in a way that suggested he used his hands for more than signing contracts. "And this bossy one is my daughter, Sarah Wheeler," she said, surprised at how steady her voice sounded. Ethan signaled the barista, ordered a hot chocolate for Lily and a refill for Sarah without asking what she wanted. He simply pointed to her cup and said, "Another, please," exactly the same. The small gesture of noticing felt enormous. Lily launched into a detailed explanation of how giraffes actually have blue tongues, and Sarah found herself relaxing inch by inch. Ethan listened more than he spoke, but when he did, his questions were gentle, never probing the obvious. He asked about her job, graphic designer, freelance, her favorite sci-fi show. She admitted to a secret love for old-school Battlestar Galactica, whether she thought the cafe's lemon bars were worth the calories. Absolutely. 20 minutes slipped by, then 30. The cafe lights dimmed to evening mode, casting a warm amber glow. Sarah realized she hadn't checked her phone once. Ethan glanced at his watch and winced. "We're late for story time at the library. Lily's going to read to the seniors." He looked at Sarah. "Would you want to come? They'd love it, and honestly, we'd love it." Sarah blinked. "You don't even know me." "I know you made my daughter laugh 3 times in the last half hour," he said quietly. "That's more than I've managed all week." Lily bounced. "Please, you can pick the book." Sarah's first instinct was refusal. Too much, too soon, too risky. But the word that came out was, "Okay." The library was 3 blocks away, an easy push on the smooth downtown sidewalks. Ethan walked slowly to match her pace, Lily skipping between them, narrating every crack in the pavement like a tour guide. When they reached the children's section, a dozen seniors waited in a circle of rocking chairs, faces lighting up at Lily's dramatic entrance. Miss Eleanor, the librarian, greeted Sarah with genuine delight. "We always need more readers," she whispered. "Some of our friends have trouble holding the books." Sarah found herself handed a copy of The Velveteen Rabbit. Her throat tightened. She hadn't read it since childhood, back when becoming real still seemed possible. She began, voice shaky at first, then stronger. The seniors leaned forward, eyes misty. Lily sat cross-legged at her feet, Mr. Raff in her lap. Ethan stood at the back, arms folded, watching with an expression Sarah couldn't quite name. When she reached the part about the skin horse explaining love, her voice cracked. "What is real?" asked the rabbit one day. "It doesn't happen all at once," said the skin horse. "You become. It takes a long time." She felt Ethan's gaze like sunlight on her skin. Afterward, the seniors pressed cookies on her, asked about her artwork, told stories of their own wheelchairs and walkers and second chances. Sarah floated out of the library an hour later, cheeks sore from smiling. Ethan walked her to her van. Lily had fallen asleep against his shoulder, curls wild, giraffe dangling. "Thank you," Sarah said. The words felt too small. "Thank you," he countered. "For making her night. For making mine." An awkward silence bloomed, sweet, electric. He cleared his throat. "I run a company. Tech. It's complicated. I'm on the road a lot. Lily stays with her grandma when I travel. Tonight was supposed to be a quick dinner and bedtime, but," he shifted Lily's weight. "I don't usually do this. Ask strangers to spend the evening with us. I don't usually say yes," Sarah admitted. He smiled, the kind that reached his eyes and crinkled the corners. "Can I text you? Not as the CEO. Just as Ethan who owes you a proper coffee that isn't lonely." Sarah's heart performed an Olympic-worthy flip. "I'd like that." She gave him her number. He typed it carefully, one-handed, as if it were made of glass. 3 weeks later, Sarah's phone buzzed during a client call. A photo, Lily in a bright yellow raincoat, splashing in a puddle, captioned, "She insisted the giraffe needed a bath too." Another text followed from Ethan, "Dinner tomorrow. I make a mean lasagna. Accessible kitchen, promise." She stared at the screen, grinning so hard her cheeks hurt. They fell into a rhythm. Dinners, library readings, Saturday mornings at the farmer's market where Ethan pushed her chair without fuss, Lily riding on the back like a triumphant princess. He never asked about the accident, until she brought it up one night over wine on his balcony, city lights sprawling below them. "I used to think the chair defined me," she said quietly. Like it was the first thing anyone saw. The only thing. Ethan traced a finger along the armrest, gentle. "I see the woman who makes my daughter laugh until she hiccups. Who drew a spaceship for Lily's bedroom wall that looks like it could actually fly? Who reads, Where the Wild Things Are, with voices that make me wish I were 6 again?" He met her eyes. "The chair's just furniture, Sarah." She kissed him then, tasting salt from her own tears. 6 months later, Sarah's studio apartment had slowly accumulated traces of them. Lily's crayons in the drawer, Ethan's spare tie on the back of a chair, a second helmet hanging by the door for the hand cycle he'd surprised her with. She was nervous tonight. Ethan had planned something special, and refused to give details beyond, "Dress warm." He picked her up at dusk. Lily was with her grandmother, part of the surprise, apparently. They drove out of the city, past suburbs, into rolling hills Sarah hadn't explored since the accident. The road climbed higher, switchbacks lit by the last of the sunset. "Where are we going?" she asked for the 10th time. "You'll see." At the top of the hill stood an observatory, small but gleaming. A banner stretched across the entrance, "Private event tonight." Inside, the dome was open to a sky drenched in stars. A single telescope pointed toward the heavens. Blankets and pillows covered the floor, a picnic basket waiting. Ethan actually knelt, beside her chair. 6 months ago, he began, voice rough, "I walked into a café expecting a quick hot chocolate before bedtime. Instead I found you, and everything changed." He pulled out a small velvet box. Inside was a ring, simple white gold, a single star-shaped diamond. "I'm not asking you to marry me tonight," he said quickly, as if afraid she'd bolt. "I'm asking for the chance to ask someday. When you're ready, when we're ready, because Lily and we want forever with you. Chair, no chair, messy mornings and perfect nights. All of it." Sarah couldn't speak. Tears streamed freely now. Ethan opened the picnic basket. Inside was the same children's book she'd read that first night at the library. But this copy was different, hand-bound, thicker. He opened it carefully. The Velveteen Rabbit story ended halfway through. The rest of the pages were new, illustrated in her own artistic style. She recognized the lines immediately. She'd drawn these in secret over the past months, late at night, never showing anyone. Page after page told their story. The lonely coffee, the little girl with the giraffe, library readings, farmers markets, first kiss on the balcony. The final illustration showed the three of them under these same stars, Lily asleep on Mr. Raff, Ethan's arm around Sarah's shoulders. On the last page, in Ethan's careful handwriting, once you are real you can't become unreal again. It lasts for always. Below it, a single line waited for her pen. Sarah took the book with shaking hands. At the bottom she wrote, "Yes, 1,000 times yes, let's become real together." Ethan slipped the ring onto her finger. It fit perfectly, as if it had always belonged there. Later, lying on the blankets, telescope forgotten, they watched a meteor shower streak across the sky. Sarah rested her head on Ethan's chest, listening to his heartbeat. "Think we'll tell people the CEO picked me up in a cafe?" she teased. He laughed softly. "I'll tell them the bravest woman I ever met let a 6-year-old and her exhausted dad crash her worst night, and turned it into our best beginning." Far below, the city lights twinkled like a million small kindnesses. And high above, the stars kept their ancient promise, that even in the darkest nights, light finds a way. Sarah closed her eyes, no longer afraid of tomorrow. She was real, she was loved, she was home, and somewhere, in a cafe that would always hold a special table by the window, a barista drew a new foam heart, perfect this time, and smiled, knowing some stories begin exactly where others end.